Hello, everyone. Welcome to another day, another episode on LATOKEN BCTV, where we discuss trends and issues around the globe with our invited panelists from all over the world. My name is Oluwatomi Nathaniel Amida, and I'm hosting this show out of Lagos, Nigeria. And today with me, our guest, I'd like to start from Noble. Please introduce yourself to the audience, let them know where you're from, a little bit about your background.
Hi guys, my name is Noble Dracone. I'm the founder of a company called Dracone Capital Partners, in which we actually help companies raise capital and build their businesses. But I'm also the founder of two companies, a NFT project we've recently released combining music and NFT art called bandroyalty.com, as well as Where Play Games, a mobile app development company. And I've been in the investment space for almost 28 years. I started off when I was 17, and I've written 7 books on trading and investing. I've been invited all over the world to be a keynote speaker. U.S. Agency for International Development sent me to Romania to be a lead topic speaker and keynote speaker regarding investments in risk and hedge fund. Uh, and I'm just happy to be here, and thanks for having me, Tommy.
Yeah, and thanks for coming because this is the first time I'm hosting you. So I hope to have
It's
a
4
good
a.m.
time.
It's 4 a.m. That's why it's the first time you're hosting me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I think it's about 4 or 5 a.m. for Gary too. Gary,
No.
please.
Now it's 7. It was when we spoke this morning. It was 4 something. Now it's getting late.
Oh yeah, oh yes. Thank you very much, Gary. Just introduce yourself to the audience. I know it's been a while I've been here, but I mean, you can introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great to be here. Good to free my son Noble. Noble, I'll tell you, we've been through this pandemic together, huh? We started right in the beginning, and now we're coming out the other side. It's amazing. Anyhow, my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. Love artificial intelligence and quantum. Done 17 companies, 2 unicorns, original management team at Click Software, sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded 5.5 years ago. It seems like yesterday though. I love AI and quantum computing. I read a lot. I've written 153 articles now on AI and quantum,
Yeah.
and and growing. I just wrote one on hyper automation and quantum computing. Hello, Mohammed, and and so I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of Get Shit Done GSD Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studios. We have a accelerator, GSD Labs, and we curate companies from around the world using Silicon Valley support to help them raise their valuations and to be able to get the access to partners and customers. So it's great to be here. Great to be here with my friend Noble and you, Nathaniel, and the rest of the LATOKEN team. So here we are.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that, Gary. And it's been a while too myself. Either ways, if you're joining us, you are welcome. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. So you could join us on either one of these platforms, and you can also be part of this show just by dropping a comment. And if I get to see it, I'll give feedback in real time. So today's topic is pretty interesting and rarely talked about. Grit for success. Grit. And we'll be discussing what grit exactly is and trying to understand how important it is in the journey of an entrepreneur. So, my first question would go to Noble. I mean, does grit guarantee success, and how important is grit in business?
You know what I could say is in the my family's from the South, right? So from South Carolina and South Carolina by way of New York. And so I grew up eating grits for breakfast as the main staple. And you have to understand what grits are, right? Grits are ground corn cooked up in water to provide sustenance. It is It is bland, it is flavorless, it does not have anything to it except for what you got in the fridge. Maybe a little sugar, maybe a little cheese, and then that's what you eat. And you have to understand why I bring that up and why it's important to the idea of grit. Grit is the basics, the staple of what you need for anything in life to be successful. There's no one who is ever going to be your number one fan more than yourself. And it's a requirement to have grit. I started off homeless at 17. I graduated high school early. I did not want to go to college right away. And so my family, they kicked me out of the house. They said, if you're not going to college right away, you're out trying to start a business with some buddies, you have to leave. Yeah, we're all about education. And mind you, I think it was a veiled threat, but I took it personally, and I moved out. I left home. I had $200 in my pocket. I had a poncho and some dreadlocks, and I was going on to my first business venture, which was buying a coffee house with two buddies of mine. And I didn't know where we were going to come up with $80,000 to buy a coffee house at all. Right? I'm 17. My partners are like in their 20, between 17 and 21. We had no idea where we were going to get the money, but we stuck it out. We learned how to write a business plan. We learned how to find investors. And that became my first understanding that if you want to make it in this world, you have got to believe in your vision. You have got to believe in your dream. You've got to believe in your mission more so than whatever you see around you. Even if you only have nothing, your unwavering focus, the grit necessary to be successful, comes deep from within to kind of drive you to each step. And I've taken that lesson from when I started to now being 46 to drive every project that I do. Grit does not mean that it'll be easy. Grit does not mean that you're not going to make mistakes. Grit just means you have follow through. And that's what you need to be a successful entrepreneur.
Oh, awesome, awesome. We'll dig deep into some other things I have for you later. Gary, how would you interpret grit, and how is it important for success, in your opinion?
Well, so grit is a passion and perseverance for long-term goals. I mean, it's about, Noble went down through. I've been down his situation, and I can tell you from my own perspective, it's being able to get through the tough times and and being able to visualize the long-term goals. So you don't let the present hold you back. You set your objectives and you go to those objectives. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody can visualize and dream and manifest that realization. But grit is believing in that, an unwavering belief that you can accomplish something, and you work towards that goal. I remember one time I got 2 black belts. How old was I? 27, I guess. And my martial arts instructor told me he was Korean, or is Korean, and he held up a cinder block and he said, "You need to break this," holding it up with one hand. Now, there's one thing about a board when somebody's holding it. There's another thing about a 2-inch cinder block cap. And I'm like, okay. And he didn't really understand English. He didn't have a command of the English language. Actually, we spoke in Korean and English together, English Korean. Anyhow, so I remember thinking to myself, this is going to be a tough task. Now, I've trained for a long time to get to this point, but this is, it's one thing breaking something when somebody's holding it. It's another thing holding the cinder block in your hand. They're heavy for one thing, and you got to hit it just right or you're going to break your hand. So what happened is, I believed in the dream, visualized it, and I broke through it. And, he said, you have to visualize being on the other side. I remember, that was a valuable life lesson, because you have to look at the other side. He said, if you think about not going through it, you won't go through it. But if you visualize being on the other side, the probability goes up dramatically that you're going to be able to get through it. Well, and that's what life's all about, Nathaniel. It's being able to visualize where you want to go. It's to be able to understand who you want to be and the kind of things you want to accomplish. Most people never really chart their life course, moving forward, or their workhorse, or their startup success. But you have to chart that in order to be able to move your life forward. And I got to tell you, it's, somebody asked me what it's like. It's like sharpening a knife. You got to keep that knife sharp all the time and try things and explore. Scott McNeely, who founded Sun Microsystems, I had lunch with him not too long ago, and Scott created a multi-billion-dollar company. And I said to him, I said, well, Scott, what do you think? And he said, it's all about fear. Go to places that you fear the most because you're going to learn the most.
Hmm.
And that's you got to keep the curiosity of a child too, Nathaniel. So part of the grit is keeping that curiosity and wanting to learn all the time. Because once you start to stop learning, you start getting old.
That's right. That's right.
And
You're
you got
very right.
craziness too. Craziness is a good thing, because
Oh
when
yeah.
you're crazy, you can have some fun. And I don't mean too crazy. I mean crazy enough.
Just crazy enough to run your business.
You're just crazy
Uh,
enough to run a company. Yeah, that's right. A
yeah.
startup. Crazy enough to believe that you can do it. And so part of it's having that grit. The other thing is, use, in a positive sense, people around you you can learn vicariously through their experiences and take that in terms of shaping your own life's path. So if you're going to develop a product or service, use their expertise and their knowledge to be able to help you go around those obstacles. It's nice to have somebody as a mentor or mentors that can
Yeah.
help you understand what's going to come up. And by the way, they take the fear out of it, because if the fear of the unknown, sometimes people get nervous. But if somebody's going through it and they said, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal, here's what it's going to look like.
Thank you very much. I'm very intrigued about how people in business overcome challenges, and I find out that most of the time, um, what happens is that everybody prays to and hopes that they never come across these challenges. But when they do come, they do not know how to confront them. It's great enough to say, "Okay, I'll overcome these challenges and then forge ahead." Or is there something more? Because I mean, a lot of people think it's faith. A lot of people think it's hope. Especially is their dream valid enough to apply grit to, is it the right approach? I mean, it's not an MBA anyway.
So Nathaniel, let me address this. Grit only works if you have core values, right? So I have a
Okay.
couple of personal core values: family first, charity begins at home, and the goal is to always have integrity in my relationships. And so, with those three things driving me as my core values of who I am, then those are how I make the assessment of how grit is. Is this going to hurt the family? Am I helping family? And am I in integrity with the people that I've made promises to? Now, mind you, that doesn't mean that things will go perfect. There's this mistaken belief that the idea that fate and destiny are the same thing. Fate and destiny are not the same thing, right? We are full control of our destiny. We have no control over the fated things that happen to us, but that doesn't mean it stops us. Prime example, I've never been in the gaming industry whatsoever until 5 years ago. I decided to start a patent. I filed a patent. I got an idea to combine augmented reality with clothing. I'd retired from my hedge fund and I started focusing on that. But because I was new, as Gary said, always learning something, because I was new to the space, I relied on other people. I relied on partners that at the end of the day abandoned the company. And that left us out of integrity. We were out of integrity with the people who were buying our product. We were out of integrity with our vendors. We were out of integrity with our attorneys. And so there's an easy opportunity for me to say that everyone abandoned the project. I should abandon the project too. Now, I couldn't pay everybody right away. I couldn't deliver all the product right away. But because of grit, I went ahead and proceeded forward. I went ahead and did other projects. And then I ended up delivering all the product to the customers. And those same customers now are super loyal fans. I was able to then pay off all of our previous vendors. Now, nobody else in the company did it. None of the other partners, nobody else stood up. But these relationships are important to me. The relationship is always more important than the money, because we can always start over if we have friends. If we have no friends, we can never start over. We can never begin again. And the only way that to do it is to operate with integrity. And so all the vendors were paid, all the customers received product, and I paid for all of that out of my own pocket. Now, I can always have said, woe is me. Oh, how terrible this happened. And went in the corner, not shown up. This group that I work with, they have meetings every Thursday, the groups that support the project. I still came to the meetings, even though things were bad. I still showed up. I still talked to them. I walked them through what the problems were and why the business wasn't working and what was happening. And every step of the way for the last year and a half, they supported us and they got it and they understood it, because family first, right? Charity begins at home, and always stay in integrity. And so, because of that, that drives my grit. Now, if you're not with any values and you have no idea on the things that are most important to you, then it becomes very difficult to be able to see beyond the moment, to see the problems that exist, uh, and then use those problems to not see the reality the way things could be, or the way things can be, if you decide to be the agent of change in what's happening. And so I decided to be the agent of change. I decided to be the one to make a different reality, to have a different destiny, that I was not going to allow the moment to dictate who I was and the situation to determine how my values were going to be displayed. And so 100%, I had to grit it out for almost 2 years of a project that was abandoned by everyone else, but that I walked through and I ended up creating and fixing and built a better company, which those same people supported us when we put out our new games and we put out our new clothing and we released NFTs last year. That same group has already brought in almost $3 million just to our company, because we operated with integrity. The same attorneys who the partners abandoned, I paid, are now doing our patents. The same vendors who, because of the tough time we had with them during the pandemic, they were so grateful because their business had gone down that we actually paid them during the pandemic when nobody else was paying them, that they then supported us and got all of our product out. So and then some, and are now collaborating with us on another project to produce NFTs and put projects out. So by operating with a set of core values, your grit then becomes how you grow and how you move and change things. It's not easy at all. It's not, people, I tell people this all the time. Somehow people confuse simple with easy. There are only 10 commandments. If you're a Christian, there are only 10 commandments in the Bible. 10. It's not 50. It's not 100, right? They claim that when Moses first came down, it was all these rules, and then nobody followed it, and he broke the tablets, killed people, went back up to the mountain, and came back with only 10. There are only 10 commandments. There's simple ways to live life, and it's still not easy. So people confuse that I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to get these investors, and then I'm going to do my business, and it's going to be easy. Nobody promised that. It's simple. Take care of your customers, take care of your vendors, come up with a good idea. But none of that is easy. And so people confuse the simplicity, and then when it's not easy, they lose grit. And so the
Yeah.
reality is you must have grit in order to execute on the simplicity of the plan. And the simplicity of the plan cannot function without a set of core values. And those core values drive you. I had no idea those are my core values. I'm 46. I figured out those are my core values probably in my mid 40s. Mind you, I've been functioning, or early 40s. I've been functioning with these things, but it didn't really occur to me that these were the things that drove my life. And so I'm not saying that people are going to one day say these are my values, but look at how you function, look at how you operate, and then lean on those when the times get tough to have the grit that you need to push forward.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Very powerful statement there. Your grit becomes how you grow. Gary, talked a lot about grit. I mean, is this something that can be learned? Is it? I mean, can you learn how to have enough grit to forge ahead?
Well, so part of it is you got to believe in yourself. And so, you know, you got to look yourself in the mirror, and not everybody does it, by the way. In fact, very few people really do that. You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, can I really do it? Do you believe in yourself enough? Do you care and believe in about yourself and enough? Not with other people coming in and you know, saying who you are, describing you, but yourself. Do you believe? And if you truly believe, and so can people learn? Absolutely. I mean, part of it's, you know, it's mentally shifting and believing you can get things done. Just like I talked to you about breaking through that cinder block. You know,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
everybody can do it, but it's not like in your life. It's not one of the things where somebody's going to hold a cinder block and say, "Oh, I think I can break it," and try smashing a cinder block. So obviously training, obviously focus, obviously visualization, and obviously keeping a very positive attitude. You got to be optimistic. People say, well, why are you so optimistic? Because guess what? It's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you can do it, you can do it. You've got to believe. You and your heart and soul have to believe that you can accomplish whatever it is. And I've been up and down and in and out, you know, went through a divorce and started from square one more time. Actually went back to university for 5 years at 48 years old, living in a student dorm just to see if I could do it in Russia. And I did it and came through. And then I started becoming a professor. Then I became the top professor in marketing. Then I started the Startup Academy. And so, you know, it's, can you believe? Can you visualize yourself being on the other side? And what happens is all of a sudden the world starts to manifest itself and things change and move in a positive direction to help you. It's like if you get up in the morning, Nathaniel, just think about it. You know, you hit your toe in the bottom of your bed or the side of the door, and the rest of the day you have a shitty day, right? Your car keys you lose, you smash something up, you break a glass, use coffee spills when you stop at Starbucks, all this stuff. It starts to create this chain reaction of not good stuff. So you've got to, as soon as something like that happens, in your mind, you got to let it go. Seriously, you got to get out of that negative state. Because if you don't, the rest of your day, the rest of your life could be impacted by one stupid thing. And you're not, you know, it's not other people controlling you. You control yourself. So people say, well, you know, my wife makes me upset. Here's the thing. It's really interesting. It's not them. It's you. Go control your destiny. If you want to do something, do it. Don't blame other people. Don't blame your wife. Don't blame your girlfriend. Don't blame your parents, your kids. You control it. So take responsibility. And once you assume that responsibility, so can you learn it? Absolutely. You know, but you got to, you know, in a guy's sense, you got to man up and assume it. In a woman's sense, the same way. You got to woman up and assume it. And if you do, then you can do it. Anything's possible. You know, like I got 2 black belts at 27. I took a black belt, hung on my wall when I was like 13 years old. And I told my dad I was going to get it. My dad says, why would you want a black belt? What do you need one of them for? I said, because I'm going to wear this black belt, Dad. I'm going to put it on and I'm going to get this black belt. And I got 2 of them at the same day. I got 2 black belts. And from that, you know, the thing is, accomplish it. And it's one of the things you can do in your life that makes it very beautiful and exciting is start by setting a path of doing positive things for yourself. That means accomplish it, whatever it is, a little tiny task, taking the garbage out. I know it sounds funny, but that taking the garbage out, what does that mean? Then wash your car, then go down through and start working on your businesses. And you build yourself up by doing positive things and accomplishing them. All of a sudden it happens. Think about it. You know, if your room's not clean, what do? You stress about something being not clean. Oh, I don't know. I haven't cleaned. It takes you 10 minutes. It's crazy. People could talk days about something not being cleaned up. Just do it. Clean it up. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, or hire somebody come in and clean
Simple,
it.
simple, but not easy, right? It's the most simplest thing. And it's funny when you say that, you know, the cleaning, that is such a good example, Gary. I love that because people need to know that it just takes the little things to grow. So I'll tell you this, how I learned grit, right, is I graduated from high school. The coffee house we were going to buy, it failed, not for all other kind of weird reasons. And so when I first got into the investment industry, I ended up working for a guy who was a gold dealer. And I remember my first day on the job. He handed me a telephone. He handed me a stack of leads that were all written on already. So they're really old. Like, this guy has no money, etc. He handed me a script and said, imagine this telephone is your ATM machine. Imagine these numbers are here, and you've got to use this script to figure out who's going to invest in the firm. And so once you punch the right numbers of the right person and say the right words, you're going to get money. And so I was looking down the barrel of being kicked out of my apartment. I was looking down the barrel of not being able to pay my car note. And I remember walking into the office after about 2.5, 3 weeks of not succeeding. I was like, I'm not getting anybody. I'm not getting any leads. I'm not getting any new customers. And I walked through the door of the sales office, and the guy who brought me on, my mentor, looks at me. He says, no, no, no. You have to go out. You have to leave. The negative energy you're bringing in is not going to work. He said, go back out the door, compose yourself, and when you walk through that door, that threshold, I want you to have all those cares and worries fall off of you. So there's no way that you can bring that energy through that door and then get on the phone to find clients. There's no way that you can bring a positive attitude carrying all that stuff that really doesn't matter right now. He says, yeah, you've got to pay rent in the next week. Your note is past due by 2 months. None of that stuff matters, because you have to be present in the moment with the right energy to be able to attract that thing which you're looking to receive. And you're looking to receive people who want to talk to somebody upbeat, who want to talk positive about investments, who want to come in. And that learned behavior saved my life. The ability to literally drop all the negative stuff, because it doesn't matter in the present. None of that stuff had anything to do with what I had to accomplish. And my whole entire life, as Gary put it so eloquently, is you have to release and let go of all the negative stuff that's happening in order for you to have a clear mind to proceed forward. And that is the core part of the grit that you have to let go. Like when we do these conversations, Gary brought up his divorce. I brought up some negative stuff. When we do these conversations, is not because we want to talk about negativity, because I guarantee Gary never talks about his divorce. I don't talk about any of the stuff I've talked about today, because none of it matters. It's all ephemeral. It's all a fiction. It's an illusion. And if you take a real Zen approach to it, you start realizing that none of that stuff matters. It's unimportant. But it's very important when we're trying to get people to understand where they need to go from point A to point B. And it's such a simple thing. You know, we're saying it as words, but emotionally, it's a huge job to be able to not think about bill collectors, not think about the bad stuff going on, and to really get present in the moment and with clarity, use your grit to accomplish amazing things. And so there's all kind of, I could talk ad infinitum, ad nauseum, right? Of all the times I've had to literally shake off what was going on and stay focused. But it's a learned behavior. It is something that anyone can learn, but you have to make a choice to learn it. And I knew that if I walked through that door one more time with the same bad attitude, I was going to be fired. There's no way. And I had no other choice of being able to make, at 18 years old, almost 19, $200,000 a year. And I cracked the nut. And at literally 19 years old, I was making almost $200,000 a year. So it took me that reality to learn to let it go. Just let it go. Walk through the door without any preconceived energy and bring the best of myself to every situation.
Thank you for that, Noble. I mean, that was a lot, and it was, I mean, very powerful. And it also reminded me about certain decisions I've taken in the past, cutting off people that brought out around me a lot of negative energy. And just like you said, just switching modes. I mean, I'll literally just be about to do something, and I just have these happy thoughts going into it. I just say, I need these happy thoughts for the next 30 minutes. And I find that It's going on for 3 hours, and I have that happy thought, and it keeps taking me to the next level, to the next minute, to the next phase, and before you know, I'm doing something huge and big, something I never thought of, and I cannot overemphasize how important this is for every business owner or entrepreneur. You need to surround yourself with positivity. You need to surround yourself with people that know how difficult it is, but still tell you that you can achieve it. Because nothing is handed over to you. You will get it, but you need the right attitude. I mean, thank you very much, guys. I mean, but we are getting to the end of today's show, but I need, just before we go, a couple of examples of people either yourself or somebody else, who has used grit to overcome major obstacles and then achieve success. I mean, you've given us an example, Noble and Gary, but just give us a little more, just for the audience, something that they can always want to come back to this video and watch.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. So, I can tell you, my partner David Yang, he was from Armenia, didn't come from a wealthy family. His parents were physicists, and when he was in college, he decided he needed money, right, to be able to live in college, and he developed some translation. One of his friends developed some translation software, and so he started to sell it to make money to live, and from that he created a multi-billion-dollar company because he just believes in the positive. And actually, every person I know that's successful has the same kind of background. They put positive people around them, and those positive people, the law of attraction, right? You attract positive people, and positive things happen to you. So what you got to do is create that energy around you. That's very interesting. At the same time, it's from my standpoint anyhow, the people that are negative, it's not that I don't let them into my, orbit, but what I do is I just don't focus in on them. I mean, it's not like I'm focusing on it's, of course, sometimes you got to give somebody a hug. There's no question about it. And by the way, that feels good too.
Yeah,
Hugs.
yeah, obviously.
One time, I'll give you a direct example. There was a guy by the name of Patch Adams. There was a movie by Robin Williams, and I'll tell you how things manifest. It was in the morning. It was actually when I had gone through my situation with my ex-wife. In the morning, I was thinking, I watched this movie called Patch Adams the night before, and I thought that is the coolest, most positive thing I've ever seen in my life. And so I get up in the morning. I'm at McDonald's. I'm grabbing myself a McMuffin. And my friend calls me up and he said, Gary. And I said, yeah. And he said, are you going back to Russia next week? I said, yeah. He said, I want you to talk to my friend, Sean. I said, oh, okay, cool. So I talked to Sean, and Sean says, hey, would you mind? A friend of mine, Patch Adams, is going. Now imagine, I've seen the movie the night before. He tells me Patch Adams is going. This guy's full of love. It was unbelievable. So I said, sure. He said, do you mind talking to him? Now imagine, I watched the movie the night before, and I'm now with the real guy who was played by Robin Williams on the phone. And
Wow.
and I said, Patch, I said, it's unbelievable. I said, it's incredible. This is like manifested. I said, you have beautiful poetry. He starts reading me the Pablo Neruda poetry that off the top of his head from the movie. The movie where the girl dies, he actually starts to go through it with me the next day. So what I'm saying is dreams come true. What happens? I met him. We end up becoming friends. He came over to Russia. We hung out. We worked with poor kids as clowns, right? So we would go up and dress as clowns and meet kids in orphanages and that kind of thing. And he said to me, he said, Gary, laughter's the best medicine. So, if you laugh and enjoy your life, that's the best medicine to be able to help. Your body starts to change and you move in the right direction. So you need to go down through. So Patch, you can watch the movie. It's in the 1998 or 97, old movie, but it's literally, that's the way it works. And every successful person I know is the same way. They're all the same. They have these positive people around them. They create this positive energy. And by the way, what happens is, you get the breadcrumbs from some of these billionaires. It's not bad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember,
Sure.
from billionaires.
Sure.
Gary, you just brought me back. That is such a great. So I was going through a divorce, a breakup, a serious breakup, and I was watching. They have, I don't know if you guys see them, a public broadcasting station. So I'm watching the public broadcasting station, and as I'm watching the public broadcasting station, there's a gentleman by the name of Wayne Dwyer. Wayne Dyer's passed away, but he's been a motivational speaker and a presenter for over 30, 40 years of his life. And Wayne Dyer is doing a show called The Power of Intention. And he's talking about how we have to operate with abundance, how this energy comes in from the source and it fills us up and it makes our lives better. And in fact, this is how we should need to function day to day. And he's going on and he's like and I'm feeling what he's saying, right? I'm getting what he's saying in the moment because I needed that positivity. So I go to my office and I'm at my office and I'm working super late. It's probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I leave the office building and it was in Long Beach, California. I leave the office building and who is standing in front of the building? It is Wayne Dyer, his wife, and his daughter, and they had just left the ballroom. It was called Maestro's. They had just left a dinner for Maria Schwarzenegger because I guess she had a dinner function, and the restaurant downstairs in from our office building. Wayne Dyer is standing there. I walk up to him and I said, "I just watched you yesterday. And your book, Power of Intention, literally changed my life. I mean, it was so surreal in that moment, Gary. It blew my mind. Wayne Dyer gave me his business card. I gave him my business card. He sent me all his books, his videotapes, based on Power of Intention, everything. I stayed in touch with him via email from time to time, and it was one of the best and most unique random experiences that I had. That it literally proved that you can attract that what you are looking for back into your life. I wasn't supposed to be there late night in the office. There was no
Mm-hmm.
reason for me to be there beyond the fact that I was going through all this turbulence and I did not want to go back home, right? So it wasn't like I was, but the fact that I'd watched it and I talked to him, and then I discovered later that when he was doing that video, The Power of Intention, he was actually going through a divorce. He was actually going through a breakup at the time. And he literally was speaking like whatever that was coming through on his show actually helped me make the right decisions for my life. And
Yeah.
so that was a powerful moment. And it was so crazy that that happened at the time.
Yeah, I mean these we say it's not like you have your mobile phone. If somebody asks you, well, how's it work exactly? Well, you say, there's these wireless waves that come in, and then you say, well, I don't see them. How do you know it's working? Well, they're there. Well, how do you know they're there? And so part of this thing is you're not sure really what it is, but I can tell you directly, it does happen. It's unbelievable the kind of
Unbelievable.
serendipity, right? And
Yeah,
how
well, synchronicity. People say serendipity, but I discovered synchronicity is just as real, and that has happened to me time and time again. Like how I got my publishing deal, and I know we got to go to Dane, but how I got my publishing deal was through a gentleman by the name of Larry Williams. He was one of the top educators for forex and futures trading. He wrote a book on how he took, I think it was like $100 to $2 million in forex. Well, I'd bought his videotapes, I'd watched his videotapes, and I bit by bit was moving in the same space. And I ended up meeting Larry Williams at my second keynote speaking event in Frankfurt. And Larry and I hit it off. My girlfriend, who's my current wife at the time, we had a great time. And Larry Williams introduced me to his editor, the guy who I idolized and was like, my spiritual mentor from afar, introduced me to Wiley and Sons. And I ended up publishing my first two major books through Wiley and Sons, Winning the Trading Game and Trade Like a Pro. It was 100% because of Larry Williams making that introduction for me. And he was somebody I had looked up to, idolized, was really a fan of, had studied his methodology. I literally attracted that to me, and that's how it evolves. That you don't know what connections you're making until the payoff happens. And still, I stayed in touch with Larry for years. Larry has an offshore fund. I've sent people to him. I've recommended but it's the craziest thing on how these things happen.
Yeah. Guys, I mean, I've had a lot to learn a lot from you guys already today. I'm sure the audience did. I'm sure entrepreneurs will, business owners will. And it just reminded me of a project that I always said I wanted to work on. And that's because I find that a lot of people come out with the shiny stuff, shiny cars, good suits, and they always talk about their successes. And I'm passionate about their failures because they came through those failures to become who they were. So if people talk more about the failures, then people will probably know how to or learn how to navigate these failures more. And I think that's my next project. But just to let you
Well,
know.
but you said it wrong. They're not failures. They're just learning lessons.
Oh
I've
no,
never
yeah,
had a
yeah,
failure in
yeah.
my life.
They
Never
actually.
failed anything.
Nathaniel, you
I
can't
just
start
learned.
out with their failures. They're going to fail for sure.
Uh,
That's like asking a girl out for a date and said, "Are you sure you want to go?"
Oh,
yeah, I've never had a
you're
failure.
definitely right.
Don't start out with the negative shit stuff. If you start out with the negative, you're going to get a 100%.
Oh yeah, oh
Exactly.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the word failure was just in my mind. I definitely would not coin it
Get the
failure,
word out of
but
your mind.
Get it out of your mind.
Let it go,
It's
I
just
should
man.
let
life.
it out.
It's
Let
Okay,
it
just life
go.
lessons.
I should let it go.
Nathaniel, it's just life lessons. We all have life lessons to
Yeah,
learn, and that's
opportunities,
it.
right? You can't think
Yep.
about
Yeah.
if you focus on that, that's what's going to happen because what will
Hmm.
happen is the universe will rearrange itself so you
Exactly.
will get exactly failure.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, it'll happen. Think about
Okay.
listen,
I need
listen,
a new
no
title.
matter what
I
you
need a
do,
new title.
no matter what you do. I wanted to become an MBA professor. So get this. So this is the real deal. So what happened is I watched the movie The Secret and I have a good memory. So I've actually made it more interesting in my mind. I went up in front of 3,000 people and started talking about hope. And then from that, I got a TED talk, right? So the TEDx. Then the situation is always thought, what's something really crazy shit you could do that, I could never do? I'll put classical music concerts together doing pop. I thought I'll combine this. Nobody's going to do that. And I'll have the best concert musicians in the world. I found them and I created. So I started to do music and I had thousands of people coming. 3,000 people came to see my concerts. And I thought, how in the world, this is 6 months, and all of a sudden it manifested itself. And not only that, could make money. And it was really interesting. So imagine getting on stage, and then the next thing is you become the MBA professor you dreamed about. Then you start up the first accelerator in Russia. It's just one thing leads to another, but that's how it manifests.
Oh, I don't have it behind me. So this is. I literally was working at a job that I had to ride the bus. This is the first book, Futures for Small Speculators. I had to ride the train and the bus 2 hours. This is a pamphlet. This is not a book. This is the book that built my entire career in investing. It literally is 90 pages, period, and it's double spaced. And so it's probably 45 pages. I self-published this book. It was translated into Romanian, Futures Petronici Speculatori. It was translated into German, Futures Kleinanlagers something, and it was translated into Spanish. And this book literally got me the job as an editor of Futures Magazine. It got me on Fox Business News. It got me on Bloomberg. It built my entire career and set all the other. This book is a pamphlet. It's a little book. It's not very big. It's because I made a decision. This is the grit. I'm riding the bus back and forth in a train 2 hours a day to go to a job to do sales. And I made a decision that I was going to do something with the time. And this was the product of that time investment. And it literally created a career for me. It was that. It's just when the only reason I stayed on the show is because I had a show at 2:30 a.m. this morning, talking again the grit about what our new project is, Ban Royalty. And the reason why I'm here is because it takes grit, just the little decisions
Yeah.
to make a difference in your life does wonders. You come up with an idea, you manifest it, you produce it, and one success leads to another. It's not easy, but it's simple. You just have to get up. Nike said it best. You can never fight it. So if you've never read Shoe Dog Millionaire, read it by Phil. Just do it. And
Yeah.
read Shoe Dog. If you haven't read it, he's one of my spiritual mentors. Read his book, and you will really understand what grit is.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a wonderful 45 minutes. I'm sure the audience will love it. I'm sure they will come back to this video. Thank you guys for being part of this. And if you want to watch this all over again, it will be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So go follow the LATOKEN account and stay tuned to more shows. Until next time, guys, have a wonderful day and talk to you soon.